Master of the sun, memories falling on concrete, leaving all behind. Now you swear to be my enemy.
Okay, right, watch out, welcome back. Now this is going to be video 5 out of 5. This is the last one of the series on servicing your Harley Softail. We wanted to break this up into 5 separate videos. We've done all the oil changes separately and the clutch adjustments separately and the primary chain adjustments separately. Hopefully they will serve as a catalogue you can put in your save box and use them individually when you need to, but they are to be strung together to make one service at the end. But it is a 4-hour process this, so you wouldn't do it all in one video. Quite a long video, wouldn't it?
You would.
Okay, so today the big one. We saved this till last for you. This is the main oil change. Initially in your head, simplest one of all, drain out, fill tank, job done, but not quite. We're going to do something extra. I'm going to purge all of the old oil out of the motor. I'm going to pump it through with clean oil and show you how to do that. Also by changing the filter in the right way so you don't pump dirty oil through a new filter, which also we don't want to be doing. So let's get stuck in, let's drain the oil out first, but before we even do that, like we did on the other two, check the level that it's currently standing at before we start. So let's do that. Taking out the filler cap at this point shows, you see on that clothespin? That's where the oil level is, the dark dirty oil. But if I wipe that, it was up to here and the level's down there. So it wasn't overfilled. Quite simply, with a Harley Davidson, you have to check the oil level on the side stand and with the engine hot. That's the correct prescribed method, and that is the procedure. That's why the dipstick is designed to be that length and not shorter. So now that it's upright, what I want to do is be able to, when I fill this up with cold oil in the future, I want to know the upright cold oil level. So rather than bothering with the stick, I can look. Now I know, because this is my bike, I know that this oil level is correct. I keep my oil level correct at all times, and that's to check it hot on the side stand. I do it every time I come back from a ride. So because I know I've got the right amount of oil, when I look in there now, I'm looking for the level visually to see roughly where it is, because the oil's now cold and I'm going to change it cold. It doesn't matter whether it's hot or cold in this particular instance because we're going to pump it through anyway. All the oil that's in there is going to get chased out by fresh oil. So hot, cold, irrelevant in this instance. But what I do know is that this oil being stone cold, the oil level that's there now is there. It's up to the bottom of that weld on this neck. So I'll fill up to that level because what I'm putting in is cold oil in a cold engine. So I now need to know the cold level of the existing oil, which I know to be correct for use. So when I've finished and I top it up to there, it'll be roughly bang on. I'll go for a test ride, come back, check it, and it'll be bang on. That's a nice way to do it rather than all that top up, top up, top up. And of course the risk of going up the road with your oil level quite low, because running any engine low on oil is quite detrimental. It's very, very serious, and we know we're doing that. Right, so now I know where it is. It's at the bottom of that weld. Let's drain it out the hole at the bottom. Drain plug is here. The way the Softails are designed is this is a welded frame rail, and this is a fixed solid mounting with a bung mounted straight into it, and the hose that drains the tank is just clipped on the top. So all we have to do to drain the oil in a Softail is that drain bolt right there. And there we go.
Running in the dark, I venture into nothing. Gone into the night. Won't you come and hold my hand?
Same again as always. Close examination. Absolutely no swarf or filings that I can see. Certainly no swarf, and I can hardly see a thing there. Just a little bit of grey. I mean, that is really, really encouraging, because it shows that there's nothing being ground or powdered inside the motor. That's just really, really healthy. The oil itself is very dirty, but that's carbon that causes that. Engine oil gets black because of carbon, nothing to do with sludge or filth.
Master of the sun, master of the sun.
off dripping. A properly prepared sump plug will save you a lot of grief. Don't leave any of the old sealant in the thread or around the groove. Get it all out, take that time, little white brush, put brand new O-ring in and a little bit of the blue Hylamar in the thread. Hylamar is an oil-proof and petrol-proof sealant and it stays sticky. We set this on the other surfaces as well. If you put it on the thread, then as it screws in, it will be dragged down the thread to the ridge around the bottom and form a nice seal. Make sure, absolutely common sense, don't get any of this Hylamar around the magnet on the top. In fact, keep it well back from that, because if you cover that with the Hylamar, it won't be able to do its job of attracting any of the metal. It will be insulated away and it won't actually work, which is not what you want it to be. So keep that clear, and lots of that, well, not lots, but just enough Hylamar in the thread to form a nice sticky seal, and that will work. And then torque it in to its torque range. Torque range on this will go in the middle of the range, and I'll put it on the screen for you so it's there. Okay. Right, I'm going to get rid of this before I do the next, because I need this empty for the oil filter. Right, taking a note, about 2¼ litres of oil came out of that, and I'm just going to put that much back in to get it to that level, then I'll show you what we do next. So let's just pop it back full of oil.
Victim of our cards, I'm running in the dark, I've been written.
There we go. Now, at this stage, the level is not critical at all. All I'm doing is just sticking some oil in the tank so I can do the next bit, which is to begin purging the system. And the oil in the tank is now up to that level it was when I started, because I put in what I took out. So let's show you the purge. Probably the best thing you'll do for your bike that the dealer will never do. Show how it works. Right, I'm going to change the oil filter next, the thing in here, the little canister. Spin it off, spin a new one on. But rather than just do it, I'm going to think about it just for a minute. I'm now going to take the return pipe off the oil tank and direct it into a jug to bleed out or chase through all the dirty oil that's left in the motor. And there's more than you think. But for a minute, we consider the cycle or the journey of the oil round the motor itself. It takes about 20 revolutions of the motor, of the crank, for the oil that leaves the oil tank to get back to the tank. That journey round the engine once takes about 20 revolutions of the engine. That's a known quantity. So we do 10 pumps of the engine. We turn it over 10 revolutions. That pumps clean oil from the tank that we just poured in up to the dirty filter. So therefore, if we change the filter right now, before I do anything, I'm going to put a brand new clean filter and then go and pump filthy oil through it. That's not very clever, is it? Instead of that, I'm going to pump the clean oil up to the filter, then change it, so that when I put the new filter on, all that will go through the new filter is new oil. And that means the filter won't get prematurely contaminated with the old dirty oil. Then from then on, that oil will go on its journey, another 10 revolutions, and it will chase out the exit pipe into a jug. And then we can top up the oil level and top it off, call it job done. So the first thing, we don't want the motor starting up. We don't want the engine to actually start or run. We don't need pressure in the system. We just want to turn it over on the starter. So the easiest way to do that, just pull the plug leads off. Take them off, like that. Put them in a safe place, like that, so that the energy coming out of the end or anything's not going to arc, so you don't want them sitting like that against something. Put them in a safe place like that. Now I can turn the motor over and it won't start. It will just be done on the starter motor alone. So the first thing, now that's ready, is to take the exit pipe or the return pipe off the tank. I'll show you how that works. Okay, unique to Harley Davidson Softail motors, you have external oil pipes and they can be removed from the tank, and you can put a pipe on the end and bleed the stuff into a jug. That's something that is just a bonus of their design, and I love it. These two pipes here, they go into the top of the tank. If they go into the top of the tank, they're clearly return hoses, aren't they? Because of the laws of gravity, the feed pipes into the engine are obviously at the bottom, because the oil sits at the bottom. Pretty straightforward. So although these are 2 return pipes, you only need to use 1. The outer one here. The inner one is more a breather pipe. The inner one comes down, goes on top of the cam case. You don't really need to worry about that. It's mostly vapor that will go into that one. On this one, this is the main oil return pipe. The 95% of the oil that returns from the engine to the tank will come in through this pipe here. So we need to get that pipe off. And the way to do it, if you have a close look, in fact, come in close, Ben, I'll show you how the pipe actually comes out, because it's quite tricky. Right, so these are the 3 hoses in question. You've got 1 feed, one return, and a breather return. We don't need to deal with that one at all. We don't need to deal with this one at all. It's the middle one we're working with. This feed pipe has got a little rubber section just there. It's a metal outlet welded underneath here from the tank itself. You get a rubber outlet which gives it a bit of flex, and these permanent clips so you don't remove it. And it's clipped for security only, literally to hold it still, by this plastic clip. So we just remove that out of the way because you don't need that. So just take that off out of the way. That just holds them still, and that then allows the middle one to move around a little bit more. Now on the ends of both of these, they've got these little plastic shove-in clips. I'll show you what they look like. If you come in on here, Ben. First of all, you've got this weather shield. This is like a little shroud. It just keeps the weather out of the way. So just get a screwdriver in so you can get hold of it. Then rotate it like that. Rotate it because it's got a rubber seal inside it, a bit like a motorcycle fork seal. And that will just come back out of the way. There's a little rubber seal in there. Now if that won't move and it's all seized up, just a bit of WD-40 and it will start moving. Now get it out of the way, right down here out of the way, because we don't need that. That's just to keep the weather off. Now in this area here, you might find loads of corrosion and cack and rubbish. I found these in a terrible state in the past because the weather does get under this little cap. So get some WD-40 in there and clean all that off, because the debris and crust and stuff like that, you don't need it in the way. There's a very delicate plastic clip in there. We're going to be removing that. We don't want to snap it because I haven't got one. If I snap it, the service stops here till I get a new one. So this is the clip in question. I need you to come in quite close, Ben. Can you show this? This little plastic clip here. There's the pipe. It just sits shoved into the hole with a rubber seal. And this is a little plastic clip. You ping it together like that and pull it out. And that's what you see. This little plastic clip, as you can see here, it's got these little shoulders, like a door latch, if you will, and it just snaps into position. So you just pinch it in like that to remove it with your fingers. Okay, you don't need tools. If you start getting big screwdrivers out and levering it, you're just going to snap this little delicate thing. And I imagine, like all things, it's about £27 from Harley Davidson, back order for 6 months. Now before you do any more, have a look on the end of this hose. This is the return hose. The oil comes shooting out of here under pressure, red hot, into the tank. So obviously it would leak if there was no oil seal, and there is no oil seal. So it's clearly down inside here. Now if I take a look, if I look in there very carefully, there's a little O-ring just there. You see it?
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Now it's always there. So if you can't find it, look harder, because it is there. That little O-ring will stop this oozing oil out while it's working. If you can't find it, and in some way it can go inside the tank, and that's all bad, because then you need to drain it out and get it out, because you don't want that getting sucked through the oil system. So be careful, okay? That goes on the end there, and that will stop it from leaking in the future, but because I don't want to lose that, I'm going to put it safe. I need 2 jugs. One with a bit of oil in, because obviously we're pumping oil through the system, but we're not allowing it to return to the system, we're draining it out. So you only need that to drop a little bit, and you're going to be running low on oil. So make sure that you do a few 10 pumps only, and then replenish the oil. So have that ready to hand. And then the other jug is for the waste oil. Nice, clean, empty jug. Piece of hose, piece of clear plastic hose. Clear plastic because then you can see when it runs clear. If you haven't got that, it doesn't matter. It just means it's easier to see it. So pop that in a jug. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's dead tight fitting or not, it's not important, but I leave those plastic clips in place. If you try and remove that from the end of the hose, you can snap them because they're quite fragile, and obviously they get hot and cold, and continued heat cycles on any piece of nylon or plastic can make it brittle. So that's nice and in good health, and I'm going to leave it that way. Just going to pop that hose on the end. There's no pressure pumping out that, not massive pressure or something. It doesn't have to be clamped on or anything, but if you're worried, you can put a little Jubilee clip around that if it helps. So, 10. Okay, 10 pumps, that's all. Ignition off. Now look at the state of that. You've got thick, black, horrible oil coming out of there. And that now means that the oil filter that's fitted has got clean oil pumped up to it. So what's up to the filter now is nice and clean. Now we put a nice clean filter on at the same time. There we are. The marker filter has not been over tightened, as you can undo it by hand. Right, put the filter off. Drainer underneath because it's going to go everywhere. That's it. They're all clean. New filter. Now, with any filter, I'll show you. Basically, when you do up a Harley oil filter, get it to the point where the rubber gasket or the rubber joint O-ring seats against the pump face or the oil filter housing face. Once it seats, once it's touched, it's half a turn from there. That's it. All right, don't go winding it up and swinging on it. It doesn't need it. It's got a big soft, squishy rubber seal, and that rubber seal sits in a square kind of track, and as you squash that down, the rubber seal pushes sideways and then the metal track touches base, and you've got that pressurized seal pushing all the time. There's no amount of screwing it up tighter will make it seal any better. So once the metal face of the filter touches the metal face of the body, that's enough, and that's half a turn. All right, so once it touches, half a turn more, that's all it needs. And I do it by hand because honestly you don't need tools for it, but if you want to use tools, it's up to you. And the best thing in the world, rubber gloves. Dry rubber gloves, get a nice grip on it. Right, filter fitted. I'm going to top it up now, and it may well end up above level, but I'm going to pump loads of this out again. So I'm going to put 300 mils of oil more in it than was in it just now, just to give me a quantity to pump out, because obviously you don't want it running low. That's fine for now. It's just a tiny bit of water, but it's temporary. Back in the jug, hose back on the end of the pipe. This time we're going to pump it clear, so that's absolutely running clear. Right, get another 10 pumps, watching the level. We'll pop a bit more oil in that just to make sure it's replenished all the time. Only 10 or 12 pumps at a time, don't let that oil level drop.
Master of the sun, master of the sun.
Okay, once you've done that and you are confident or happy of the cleanliness coming out of the return pipe, pop the little O-ring back on the end, neatly and tidy, and then pop that back in the hole. There's a metal seat inside. The flex bit down here helps you a lot. Get the angle right, pop it in and take your time. Don't force it, don't swing on it, monkey boy. That will snap into position. There we are. And pop that in nice and secure. It just pushes there, it doesn't fix. Right, don't forget to put the little clip on, the little clip that holds the two hoses or pipes in place. That just snaps onto there. I'll stop them boogieing around too much. And that obviously stops the pipes flexing and then potentially snapping those little plastic clips that hold them in place. Now, this is when it becomes obvious why you check the level before you start. I looked in there before I started. The oil level was up to the bottom of the weld on this filler neck, and it is still right now up to that level. So I know that my oil level is 99% correct. I can go for a test ride in confidence that I know it won't run low halfway up the road. And when I get back, I'll check it hot on the side stand with the dipstick, and I know it will be practically bang on. There we are. So that's it. Pretty straightforward. Right, don't forget to put your plug caps back on. Right, there we go. Now, oil change. If you're going to ask someone to do an oil change for you, then make sure you ask them to change it all. If you go to a place and they say, no, we just changed the oil in the tank, then walk away. Because they are leaving you with this. This is 1 litre of sump oil that I just got out of the bike. I said a pint or more earlier because in the past I've had them run clear in about a pint and a bit, but that one was still running dirty in a whole litre. That shows that the oil in the motor was quite thick. It is a cold engine, so it needs a bit more pump through. So a quantity of this, probably the top inch, will be clean oil, but there it is. That's filth, and that would have been left in your motor. That represents 30% of your oil. That's a whole litre. There's only 3 litres in the system, so why would you leave 30% of your oil unchanged? I don't get that. That's ridiculous and stupid. You would change it if you can. Now, commercial dealerships, commercial garages might have a set policy where they just change what's in the tank. Then you just need to make sure you ask them, please, will you purge the system through and change all of it, because I want the whole oil changed. They should do that quite happily and charge you a small amount for it. Any Harley technician will know more than easily how to do that. It's a common process, but they just don't factor it into general servicing as far as I'm aware. You may have a story that yours is always done by your dealer, and that's good. There are good guys out there as well as there are bad. So that's the point. I just wanted to show you how to get that out of your engine. Very, very simple. And the little thing about the clip and the O-ring and making sure that that feed pipe goes back in properly. You can do it. It's not complex. If I can, you can. Amen.
Sure can.
Right, there we go. That concludes the series of 5 videos. I wanted to make 5 separate videos covering the Softail stroke big twin 1450 twin cam service. Now, obviously we've done oil change gearbox, oil change primary cover, oil change engine. We've also done the clutch adjustment and the primary chain adjustment. They're 5 major jobs for 5 videos for you. So hopefully you can put those in your save box and you can use them. There is a lot more to the major service, there really is. There's checking so many things. You've got the critical fastness check, that must be done every major service. That involves going over the bike. A prescribed quantity of fasteners on the bike need to be checked with a torque wrench, and that's very simple. You buy the big manual from Harley, the big 2-inch thick one. You look up the critical fastness check, it shows you which ones to check and what torque range they must be checked and set within. It's extremely simple, you can do it, not hard. In fact, that manual is the best tool you'll put in your toolbox, it really is. You should have one. The other side of it is things like general servicing common sense, swivels, pivots, levers, the sort of stuff you do in every single service, even on a moped. You must make sure all of the things are lubricated. Now me, I take care of my bike all the time. I do that sort of stuff constantly, so I don't really have to factor it into a main service. If you go to a dealer and they're going to look, the technician is going to look at your bike and say, I'm going to assume nothing whatsoever has been done, this bike's just been ridden and neglected, and they will do everything. That's why the major service is extremely expensive. We're hearing tales back from you of £400, £500, £600, £700 for a service. Some say it's a lot cheaper, but believe me, if they go front to back, every single thing, it's a lot of money. And the big things are what we've done in this little series of 5 videos. So hopefully they will help you to do them yourself. The critical fastness check you can do. The rest of it is odds and ends, checking battery, checking tyre pressures, check your horn, check your lights work, all that sort of stuff really isn't hard. So I hope that's helped you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support on this series. These are going to stand for all time, hopefully as help and assistance for those of you who need it, free of charge. Amen.
Sure is.
There we go. Thank you for watching. Take it easy. Ride safe. See you next time.